Before I walk away from your life, we roll back into when I came back into your life. Before I start playing mind games, we roll back into when I came into your life. Before we have a serious, stable relationship together, and maybe it's successful. Now you are questioning what's happening, and maybe you can't fully grasp or understand who she is, and maybe she is totally a different person that you don't really understand. We roll back to when and before maybe you built that relationship. Anytime I have an experience with a man, I receive information that I decide to choose to receive and serve subconsciously. And those informations are saved through an emotional language. And not a primary emotional language, a secondary emotional language. It's the information that is saved into our subconscious mind. And this information can easily be accessed by anyone. So women's emotions can easily be poached by any man, your wife, your lady, your girlfriend, until they know how they operate and how they receive information emotionally. When I am not free as Hannah, it means I am a slave towards emotionally, or I am psychologically trapped because I am seeking answers. If I am not emotionally free, this is on a secondary emotion. Then the person I am going to date, have a relationship with, marry or get married to, if he questions my reactions, he creates psychological trap for himself. And until he is in a psychological world, so that Hannah can be on an emotional world secondary consistently, the relationship can never work again. If I am operating from a secondary emotional reaction, that is the perception of reality that consistently creates conflict because of my past, and I am not aware of that. All I know something is wrong. The only man I can date and have a relationship or a marriage with is a man who can be on a psychological world by questioning. When he questions, he will react. When he reacts, he amplifies an emotional reaction on a secondary level, and maybe to me, that emotional reaction, the perception of it, is what sustains safety, security, and predictability. Let's now roll back. She walked away. You wanted to explain. You wanted to beg. You wanted to chase. Every time she shows up, all you give her is total silence. See, when she shows up, that is a performance being created because of your silence. Your reaction is the only thing she's waiting on. And when you don't react, you don't chase, you don't beg, you don't go after her, you don't question, you don't explain. You raise the unknown on her performance. You raise the questions. Those are the psychological questions on her side that she wanted you to face. She wanted you to question. Now she is the one questioning. She wanted you to beg and chase. Now she is the one showing up and performing because she is chasing passively. But when you question, when you chase, when you go after her, that is a scripted poet that she wanted you to perform on, because this is a script that she has been using on people, and she used on her past relationship and came up with an interpretation that confirms this is the reality. See, Isaac, we are not slaves to ourselves. We are slaves to words, because words access our secondary emotional language. Because the secondary emotional language is the perception of reality, and the reaction to the reality is what encourages the other screening person to understand a reality in a lens they want to understand, so that they can influence you to act in a way that will communicate safety to them. See, when we have a relationship, at first when we came into your life, I wasn't entirely at peace. I wasn't entirely contented. What was I seeking? A place I can hide. Someone who can give me company. Why? See, in my past relationship, when I ended that relationship with Isaac, I perceived everything and understood everything on an emotional language. And moving forward, that is how I have been living. See, if today you had a heartbreak with your ex, or maybe she did something to you, instead of listening to your internal sensations and physical sensations and sit in the uncomfortability of it and not try to act on it, you tend to look for another Hannah to fix the frightening sensations, that is the emptiness and the loneliness, because that is what will fix your reality, and that is the trap we get ourselves in. Because if we have an emptiness in ourselves, we can easily communicate to the other person who has the same deficit, and they can reach out to us. But for them, they want someone they can own. Why? Because that is the only way they can be safe. That is the only way they can feel like they are in control. Because now, being a slave to that perception is what creates safety to them. But when we are consistently trying to sway you, control you, move you, or push you off center, adjust, lash out, what does it create? Conflict. So, do you mean that when we have sessions with you, most of you gentlemen, and then we get answers, we don't get answers to understand our partner and see if we can still build relationships with them? We get answers to change our partners because we expect a specific return, and that return is what will give us peace. And if it doesn't give us peace, we are again in conflict with ourselves because we want it to work so bad. Here's the thing: if you just strip yourselves from the conclusions and the experiences and the knowledge, strip yourself from that, what are you left with as at now? Because there will be no perception. That is the conscious and the unconscious level. There will be no perception. So if you strip yourself from the conclusions of your words, of your experiences. I met with my ex, we had a relationship, she acted this way.